You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. My name is Arya Whitner, and this is your NXT audio update for Wednesday, May 4, 2016. The big news in NXT this week, Eric Young is here. And in fact, during the show we had 3 former TNA World Heavyweight Champions, and between the 3 of them, probably about a dozen X Division title reigns, a crap ton of tag title wins, and more heel and babyface turns than Vince Russo can count. So NXT kicked off this week with our brand new champion. The champ is here, ladies and gentlemen, Samoa Joe. Joe proclaimed that he is a man who keeps his word, and despite the best efforts of the former champion, he is here, he is your new champion, and the only 3 things that are inevitable in life are death, taxes, and Samoa Joe. And he alerted the world that if anyone has a problem with him being the man, he has no problem beating them down and choking them out too. That was the cue for the debuting Showtime Eric Young. EY got a big reaction, including a holy shit chant and an EY chant. Eric came out, they talked about how he's won championships all over the world. They actually at one point talked about all the different gimmicks he's had, and mentioned him being a former world champion. Of course, they didn't actually mention TNA by name, but you know what they were talking about. Eric acknowledged that they knew each other. He called Joe a badass wrecking machine and said that the only thing guaranteed in life is change. Young said he collects championships, and while things have changed for Joe, things will now change for Eric Young. Joe just walked away, stopping on the ramp only to say that Young doesn't belong in the same ring as him, and if he does enter the ring again with him, Joe will beat his ass. I don't know if they just taped way too much for this episode or what, because we had a lot of awkward editing. As Joe was in the ring. Joe left the ring. He's barely up the ramp. Eric Young is still in the ring, and all of a sudden, Tessa Blanchard comes running out. Eric Young is long since gone, and the ring announcer and the referee are in the ring. So Tessa Blanchard was up next with her second NXT television match. Unfortunately, the second one didn't go any better than the first one. This time she took on the monster, Nia Jax. Nia Jax has only lost 1 match in her NXT career, that to Bayley back in December at TakeOver London. Tessa went running off the ropes for a crossbody, but Nia just stood there absorbing the blow and let Blanchard crash to the mat. Nia laid her out with a corner splash and Samoan drop before picking up the win with her leg drop. It's time for the perfect 10. Ty Dillinger's here, getting his normal big reaction. Again, Ty's been the perfect 10 since July, and he's yet to win 10 television matches. Honestly, I don't think he's won 5 television matches. But despite that, the fans really like the 10 gimmick, and he's good enough that I honestly think he's got a decent shot if and when he gets called up to the main roster. His win-loss record is not improving, as tonight he's squaring off one-on-one with Austin Aries. Aries had a much better match here than he did with Baron Corbin back at TakeOver Dallas, since Dillinger is not a foot taller, and like I said, he's also really underrated as a worker. Aries used both a slingshot senton into the ring and a slingshot corkscrew plancha out of the ring, but Dillinger used a wacky move where he picked Aries up in a fireman's carry, threw him over kind of like an FU, but instead dropped him head first across the back of his knee for what turned out to be a very believable near fall. Dillinger then pulled down his knee pad for some big what a maneuver, but instead he got hit with a rolling elbow and a 450 splash, and Austin Aries is now 3-0 in NXT. The Revival versus the Hype Bros next. This match was set up last week when the Hype Bros had defeated Blake and Murphy, and then Dash and Dawson laid out Zack and Mojo. This was, should note one other thing, they actually gave Dash and Dawson their names back. It's Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson again, as opposed to just Dash and Dawson. This was a showcase match for them, even though it was against a quote-unquote non-jobber team. It was here to showcase Dash and Dawson, get them ready for more title shots against American Alpha. Here they beat down a team that won an impressive match last week, and here they are just destroying them, giving them very little offense. The most amount of offense was when Mojo got his hot tag. He ran wild for about 20 seconds, but he missed a clothesline, turned around, and got immediately hit with the Shatter Machine, and the Revival picks up another win, rolling to assuming another title shot in June against Gable and Jordan. Backstage, Alex Riley was asked about his match next week with Shinsuke Nakamura. Riley said that Nakamura is half his size, has no athletic ability, and when he punches Riley in the face, Riley will respond by punching Nakamura in the face, and his punch will be harder because he's a larger man. He finished by saying next week, it's time to rage. No Way Jose made his debut actually in Full Sail University by pinning Noah. Noah did not have a last name. He is not my nephew Noah. Thank God, he's only 5. But Noah, insert last name here, was soundly defeated here, getting pinned with the winding punch to the face, and then a full Nelson slam. Kathy was backstage interviewing Austin Aries. Aries said that Ty Dillinger was an A talent. He was a perfect 10, but Aries beat him because he's an A double talent, and he's the perfect 20. He said even though he came in as the most hyped free agent on NXT, something still seems off. The fans don't quite know how to react to Aries, and next week, he's not going to wait. Next week, he's taking the initiative to become a bigger star. Maybe Nakamura, maybe Finn Balor, because up next, Finn Balor video package. They showed a whole bunch of Finn Balor clips dating back to his debut, interspersed it with clips of Joe beating him for the title, finishing up to promoting that he will return to NXT next week. Main event time, a match that was set up at the beginning of the show, but they didn't actually announce it until the commercial break before the main event. Eric Young, in his debut, one-on-one with the brand new NXT champion, Samoa Joe. This match was to establish Young as being on the same level as Joe, because while Joe beat down Eric a lot, Young kept getting back up, and the first 4 or 5 minutes of this match, every time Joe would hit a move, every time Joe would put something on, Young would reverse those holds. Young would then do the same move, but would do it better than Joe. And it was there to show that Eric Young was a top-level talent and could hang with the big guys. Joe took over when he threw Eric out of the ring and hit a big suicide dive. Young made his comeback when Joe slapped him hard across the face. But towards the end of the match, Young just could not put together multiple moves in a row. He was absorbing a lot of punishment. He did give Joe a suplex that looked like a legit feat of strength. Since you never see Joe be suplexed very much, it looked pretty good there. He did hit his top rope elbow, but only got a 2 count off that. He went for a pile driver, but Joe countered out of it. Hit his corner Uranage before picking up the win with the Muscle Buster, followed by the Coquina Clutch. So yes, in his debut, Eric Young does the J-O-B clean in the middle. And in fact, Joe, to send a statement to all other wrestlers in the world who are thinking about coming and challenging him, Joe kept the choke on for 4 seconds, breaking just before the count of 5 and a reverse decision, and showing the world this is what happens when you come in to try to challenge the NXT champion. So that does it for this week. Thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you again in 7 days.